considered sine inverse of minus x is y, and what did we prove at last? We proved the RHS part, that is minus sine inverse of x. We did not do anything here. We only shifted the inverse on the left hand side and we proved it. So, what did we do here? Sine inverse of minus x, we considered that as 1. So, now sine of y, if I have this inverse here, if it is moving towards the left hand side, it is going to be your sine, only sine. If in case if you have this, there is no inverse, I just want to move it on the left hand side. What happens then? It gains again the inverse property. When you have inverse, if it is moving, it loses its inverse property. If you don't have inverse, if it is moving, it gains its inverse property. Okay. So now I am moving it on the left hand side. This is going to be your sine y, which is equal to minus x. So now multiplying throughout with what? Minus 1. So minus y is equal to x. So actually again what do? I am just reshifting the sine y. Look at this. Do we have any inverse property on the left hand side here? There is no inverse property, but when it is moving on the right hand side, it again gains its inverse property, that is sine inverse of x. So now again multiplying throughout with minus 1. So y is equal to minus sine inverse of x. Sine inverse of minus x is equal to minus sine inverse of x. Fine. Will you be able to do this too? The same procedure. There is no change at all. The same procedure. Cosecant inverse, at least prove 1. Cosecant inverse of minus x. You have any confusion? Akash, are you doing it dear? I want you to do this. Yeah. There is no derivation being asked. For these people, they will ask the derivation. But you should be knowing, as I just told you, these 3 sets are friends. Okay, sine inverse, cosecant inverse and tan inverse are the friends. So, they will have the same property here, taking out the negative value outside. And here cos inverse, secant inverse and cot inverse, the negative values. So, what do? They will just take the pi values. I want you to prove at least this cosecant inverse. Did you prove it? The same procedure, there is no change in it. Shall we move on to here dear?
What did we do in the last second step?
This one, is it? This one? Yes. I multiplied throughout with minus 1. If I multiply this with minus 1, minus into minus is plus. And what happens here? There is plus into minus is what? Minus sine inverse of x. Okay. Shall we move on to this? Second friend. Yeah, I will erase this. Fine. What is the LHS part for this? LHS part is what? Cos inverse of minus x. So, can I consider that as y? Y is equal to cos inverse of minus x. Is it visible? Okay. Cos inverse of minus x. So, what do we do here? This says I will not be there here with minus x. So, if it is demanding that I don't want to stay here, where will it go? It moves to the left hand side. If it goes to the left hand side with the inverse property, what happens to it? It becomes cos y is equal to minus x. Okay. What is the next step? Multiply throughout with what? Minus 1. Multiply throughout with minus 1. So, what happens here? Minus cos y is equal to minus into minus is nothing but plus x. Okay. Now, cos of minus theta is what? Cos theta. Sine of minus theta is what? Minus sine theta. Can you implement any of such property here? Just think about it. Here I have negative value. In which quadrant, or else you just forget this, in which quadrant you actually get negative value? Here all are positive. Here sine is positive. What happens to the cos? Cos is negative. Here, which is positive? Tan is positive. What happens to the cos? Cos is negative. Here, cos is positive. But here, what is the value that I have? Negative. In which quadrant it can have negative value? Either this or this. Fine. So, to be on the safer side, I actually go for this value itself. Pi minus. I'll go for pi minus instead of going for pi plus. Okay. So, what I do is negative value, I am actually getting it in which quadrant? Second quadrant. Second quadrant, if you have like this is your plus value, this is your minus value, right? Minus will go in the clockwise direction and plus goes in the anti-clockwise direction. So, instead of this minus, can I write this as pi minus y? Cos of pi minus y is there in which quadrant? In the second quadrant. Second quadrant, we are supposed to get it as negative. Since I have a negative irodrinda, I am actually taking it in second quadrant. If we had a positive, then we would have taken some other like pi by 2 plus or something. Okay. But here cos of pi minus y is equal to x. Now again, I want to represent in terms of inverse. So, what do I do here? I will not retain this cos on the left hand side. I will push it to the right hand side. So, what happens here? So, pi minus y is equal to cos inverse of x. Very good. Cos inverse of x. Fine. Now, I don't want this y to be there because what does the formula say? Pi minus, along with pi, I want the cos inverse to be there with me. So, what do? I will just bring this on the left hand side, I will just send this on the right hand side. Can I do that? So, now pi minus cos inverse of x is equal to y. Okay. But what is that y we had actually taken here? If you had considered this is 1, what is y? Or else can you just write this as y is equal to pi, you can either do this, cos inverse of x. What is y according to that? It is cos inverse of minus x is equal to pi minus cos inverse of x. Got it? Cos inverse of minus x is equal to pi minus cos inverse of x. What is that property we are actually using it here? We are using the property of the quadrants. Just remember, whenever you are actually up to the mark here, you are using the concept of quadrants. Just remember that. We are sticking on to the second quadrant, pi minus. Are you all getting it here? What did I do? Negative cos negative is there in the second quadrant. So, pi minus comes in the second quadrant. I have actually taken this and I have again sent this on the right hand side. This is going to be your inverse, cos inverse. Fine. Okay. The same thing with the secant inverse as well. The same thing with the cot inverse. Okay.